right? Everybody
That's right.
has has a
Oh,
different.
are we starting now?
Yep. You are live on
Perfect.
now. So Susan, Michelle, Myrna, Skoller, this mic is all yours.
Hi, I am Susan Michel. I'm here in Western Massachusetts, and I'm here with my good friend, soul sister, Course in Miracles companion, Myrna Skoller in Boca Raton, Florida. How are you today, Myrna?
Oh, great. Beautiful. Everything's beautiful. We're having hurricane weather down here, but I haven't experienced any of it here. But everything in my world is going pretty well. How about you, Susan?
Perfect. Perfect. I am the author of Surrender to Joy, From Suicide to Serenity. I teach the transformational truth of A Course in Miracles, which we're all here to learn, to embody, to clarify the knowledge of. And Myrna, along with 4 or 5 other books, is the author of Private Lessons with Jesus. And I love her book so much. It is analogous to the Course in Miracles workbook. So for each day of the year, Jesus channeled through her, and it is just an amazingly fabulous book. So I will start out with the introduction of my book, and then we are going to talk about something specific, which I'm really looking forward to. My book starts out, my passion is God. God is love and joy and beauty. He is all that is good in the world. Everything else is our own miscreation. When we are filled with joy, we are connected to God. When we are not joyful, we have lost our connection to all that is real. This is my message. It can be clarified with 3 simple words: surrender to joy. There is nothing to find. All we need to do is surrender. There is nothing to find in the world because there is no world. The external world that we experience is nothing more than a projection of an internal frame of reference. We're always creating our own reality by the thoughts we hold in our mind. So today, Myrna found an amazing video on YouTube. It is entitled Surviving Election Madness by Tina Louise Spalding. Tina Louise Spalding is a strong Course in Miracles student. She wrote another book that Myrna recommended to me that I've read numerous times, Jesus, My Autobiography. And it's just an amazingly clear and wise book. And my husband as well has read it, I think, 3 times now. And this video that I just listened to quite a few times, I have been listening to it for the past couple of days. It's entitled Surviving Election Madness. Because what is happening now is we are under 6 weeks from the election, maybe 5 weeks from the election, and Democrats are anti-Trump. Republicans are anti-Harris. I will not take a side because that is not of God. And that is what Tina speaks about in this video. It's a 20-minute video. Now, she's Canadian, so she's not involved in our election, I believe. But what she does say is just so interesting because there is some noise coming on right now.
It's good. It's fine.
Oh, okay. So Tina Louise Spalding speaks about how the election is actually provoking fear in our minds. So it's very important that we don't get caught up into that fear-based energy. because if we do, it creates stress, it creates anxiety, and it blocks us from God. So that's something that everyone needs to be aware of right now, right, Myrna?
Yes, we discussed it. And until I heard her speaking, I didn't realize how much I too was away from the peace that I like to experience all the time. I was someone who never listened to the news, really, and I always prided myself on that, that I really was kept myself far and away from it until I heard something that I said, well, that's not true. That's not true. And then I started becoming pulled into it. And then you become part of the, the aspect of the ego that is taking you away from peace. And that's really what it does. And I look around me and I see how the craziness, we see it now, greater than ever before. It's just out of hand. People have lost friends over differences in what their opinions are, the right, the left, the left, the right. I mean, and it just becomes it's just become something that I've never realized that was so intense as it is now. And I really believe that maybe, and I said this to my boyfriend, Pat, that maybe everything really has to culminate the way it is before it breaks down. Once it breaks down and we get through the what we're listening to, which nobody really knows exactly what's true anyway. Once we kind of that breaks down after the craziness that we're experiencing, then I think that then peace then really becomes the completion of what people start to recognize that they need to feel, that they're out of the realm of peace. They're out of the whole idea of really where we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be loving and at peace and tranquil and happy for our neighbor, and yet we find that the differences are keeping us apart. And what she is saying really is that that we're involved in an aspect of the consciousness, the collective consciousness, that is not really that's apart from the personal consciousness. And I realize that I'm getting away from the inner aspect of who I am, the beauty and the wholeness of really what our own consciousness tells us brings peace to us. And where else are we going to find it except within ourselves? We're not going to find it outside of ourselves. And so it's really a matter of realizing that if we can step out of the box, step out of the fear of what we're seeing and getting involved in, it doesn't do us any good. It really doesn't. And she said, even after the election, what we're probably going to see is even worse, because, as she says, half the population wants Trump, the other half of the population wants Harris, and whoever wins is going to be happy, and the other side is going to be very unhappy. And we're going to see a lot. I think it's going to become a lot worse before it becomes better. Well, this is what she's getting at. And so I think it's good to be prepared for that. That, in other words, that whoever wins, whether we hold something dear to us that we think is the only answer, which is us, my side is true, your side is not true, and vice versa. So if we can just be prepared for the fact that there are going to be some very unhappy people, that we need to kind of step out of that, and we need to get into the part of the consciousness that doesn't have to experience that doesn't have to go there, that doesn't have to become involved in the madness, as she puts it. Right, Susan?
That's right, Myrna. I mean, when we are discussing our beliefs with other people, it's fine to talk about what is important to me. However, if the other person disagrees with me, I do not have the right to get upset about that. That's how I feel. What's happening now, though, is people don't discuss politics in public because people get so upset when the person that they're talking to doesn't agree with them. I've had different interactions lately, and I rarely talk about politics unless I know for a fact the other person does agree with my point of view. I was running, and the lady that I was running with was liberal. And I did not comment, if I was liberal or conservative. I didn't comment because I'm good about that. And then she says, well, I'm not going to discuss politics. However, I see your hat is red, so you might be conservative. And the fact that my hat was red had nothing to do with my political party. It was an old college hat from 20 years ago. So people tend to make judgments instantaneously, and that separates us. When we judge our brother for any reason, that separates us. And A Course in Miracles is telling us repetitively that God has but one son. We are all part of that sonship. We all have the same God spark within us. So even if one person supports the Republican candidate and the other person supports the Democratic candidate, it's all good. So divisiveness does not do anyone any good at all. Tina Louise Spalding starts out her video very interestingly. And what she says in the beginning is, she says, when you leave this world, you are going to feel like you are shedding an old coat. You are going to feel like you are taking off a pair of shoes that are 3 sizes too small. And you're not even going to realize how much is weighing you down in this earthly plane until you move on to the next dimension. I thought that was very interesting, because we do have not only our bodies that we're dealing with, we're spiritual beings living in these human bodies, but we also have these subconscious, unconscious pain points that are weighing us down. So I thought that was just a very interesting way to start the video. And then she goes on to say that the most important thing during the day is to keep your mind in a peaceful place, because when you are aligned with peace, love, joy, and happiness, you are much more able to hear God's voice. God is always talking to us, but when we are connected to the dynamics of the ego, when we are distracted by the dynamics of the ego, we cannot hear him. Who is he? He is me. My Father and I are one. So my higher self. So my higher self is always guiding me throughout the day. But when I'm distracted with negativity, whether that be election negativity, when I'm distracted with any kind of stressful thoughts, I can't hear the wisdom of my higher self. So that's why it's so important to keep ourselves at peace as often as possible. And I just love that. When I was running today, I was focused on the peace, love, joy, and happiness of who I truly am. I was focused on the lesson of the day. The lesson of the day is lesson 274. Today belongs to love. Let me not fear. because again, and I can feel the difference. I do tend to shift. I do tend to vacillate, throughout the day. But when I can really remember how much love is available to me at each and every moment, when I can keep my mind at a place of peace, I can hear my higher wisdom. And it's just what A Course in Miracles is teaching us to do. So I guess to go back to, again, the video that we're focusing on, I think I mean, for me, I want to be aware of what's going on in the world. I want to keep myself abreast of what's happening politically, but I don't want to get sucked into the negativity. I can feel like sometimes when I get sucked in, I can feel the stress in my heart. And that is not of God, right, Myrna?
Yeah. And Susan, she also brought out the fact that we're in a really higher frequency of energy. We are, I mean, anything you read pertaining to that will tell you that the love frequency is really available now more than ever. So we're really in that frequency. In fact, they call it 5-dimensional energy, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. The name doesn't matter. But I do feel that energetic frequency that I'm a part of, because I do feel peaceful. Really, I really do. I feel peaceful most of the time. I can't say that the election is getting me down. I really don't allow that to happen. But then, it's funny because Tina Spalding says, we say that we're fine, we say that we're at peace, but we're really not. Okay. And until you can really extricate yourself from that, that fear energy that seems to be all around us, but we don't have to be a part of it. And in fact, if anything, this is a time to really get into the love energetic aspect of what's permeating the planet. And I do believe that, because I speak about that. I do believe that we are in a better where I think the lower energies are really not as prevalent, okay, as they were in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, where we've risen above that. We've gotten to the love frequency. This is the age of the heart, just like Sebastian Blakesley in his book, The Age of the Heart, tells us we're at that age right now, that we're in the best place we could possibly be. And I think the forces that are pulling us into the lower energetic thought system is what we're listening to, which is the news. It really is. Those are, when you think about it, when people are telling you lies and you're hearing lies because you really don't know, that a lot of it does feel like you're being duped. I can see that as well. And if you fall into that and then you find yourself at odds with people who think differently than you, and you see this constantly going on, you don't have to be a part of that. You really don't. We don't have to be a part of that craziness that we're seeing that seems to be permeating, everywhere, especially the news. And what she said is that now is the time that to focus on what you love. If you're working on a project that you really love, that frequency is available right now, more so than ever before. So get into that, work on that project, because that's all there is anyway, when you think about it. That's really what you want. You really want to feel the happiness that comes with that type of that achievement. So yeah. So
I love that you brought that up, Myrna. That's what she did stress in her video. If there is something that you love, well, work on that project that you love. If you love gardening, spend time gardening. If you like writing, spend time journaling. If you like working out, spend time working out. Crafts, spend time doing crafts. but whatever you do that you enjoy is going to elevate your vibrational frequency. So, and when we get down on ourselves for things that we're unhappy with, we lower our vibrational frequency. It's very interesting how the mind works. So if I condemn myself for not making enough money, if I condemn myself for having an extra 10 pounds, if I condemn myself for whatever I feel my flaws are, I am going to keep my energetic frequency at a lower rate. It's also true when we condemn other people. When we see the flaws in other people, same thing. We keep our energy dense and low, and we separate ourselves from God. But when we start focusing on what we love, when we start focusing on what we're good at, when we start talking nicely about ourselves and nicely about other people, then it just when I start thinking about things that bring passion to my life, I can feel my frequency elevate itself. And it's so interesting how that works. Even like during my morning run, first I meditate at home and I focus on the Course in Miracles lesson of the day. Then I run, and I do my best to focus on the positive, and I can feel my frequency heighten when I focus on positivity, but then when I start dwelling on negative things and I start dwelling on what's wrong with my life, I can just feel my frequency lower itself. But so we always have a choice, we always have a choice as to what we want to focus upon. So I think it's important to use mental discipline to focus on the positive as often as possible. There is a man that I did a podcast with, and I think he's been here on Pal Talk YouTube a couple of times as well. His name is Carl Gruber, and he wrote an amazing book. It's called The Law of True Spirituality and the Law of Attraction. He's a law of attraction coach. And I do believe they go hand in hand. And I think it's very interesting what he speaks about, because I spoke to him on the phone on Sunday. I listened to a podcast that he gave with Dr. Joe Vitale yesterday. And it's just really interesting because he's a strong Course in Miracles student. And he also is a strong law of attraction practitioner. But he talks about how it's really important to focus on what you want, release what you don't want from your mind. He talks about the strong power of forgiveness, because when we hold on to grievances of any kind, it lowers our vibrational frequency and we can't hear God. And in terms of, the law of attraction, A Course in Miracles is very clear that nothing in this world is going to make us happy. The only thing that's going to make us happy is our connection with the divine, with God. However, when we realize that our sustenance comes from our connection with God, we also were born to create. We can also, when we come from that loving mindset, go out into the world and extend God's love in whatever way God is instructing us internally to do so. Right, Myrna?
Yes, Ken Wapnick says the world we see is an outward picture of an inward condition. So what we're seeing in the world just is what's going on inside of us. So if I'm losing that connection with God, then I'm losing the that that part of me that belongs to God. I'm really putting that aside, and I'm sort of preferring the part that doesn't make me happy, or the part that does elevate my blood pressure, that I'm putting God aside. And I realize that more and more, that how important it is to stay in that, within that connection. Once I got back, not that I ever lost it really, but yeah, you know, picking up news articles. I don't like what's happening in the world. And of course, I'm allowing myself to fall into it. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be informed. I mean, that, you know, we're not dead and buried. We're living in the world. So to be informed is fine, but to become so overly involved in what really is not true anyway. The world is not true. There is no world. And yet we're buying into that. So I think everything has its place. And I really believe that as much as I want, you know, my ego wants my candidate to win, I will be okay with whoever wins. I will be. I know that I can handle it. I can handle anything that comes my way, because I've handled a lot worse than this in my life. So this is something that certainly I will recognize, that it's okay. It's always okay. It's all okay. It's all good. But we have to stay in that understanding, that belief system that is only true. That's the only thing that's really true, is the feelings and the understanding, that connection to God that we have, that wonderful connection that brings us miracles, ongoing miracles. And why forego that for an energetic frequency that doesn't serve us in any way? So I liked hearing her. Again, we'll mention her name, Tina Spalding. Even the book, Private Lessons, the book that that we were discussing, that she wrote, Jesus, My Autobiography, you have it. I thought that was so interesting. Now, she is someone who claims that she is a channel of Jesus. And that book was very fascinating, because it's very a way opposite of what the church teaches about Jesus, or what we've learned about Jesus. Her story is, whether it's true or not, it's certainly, as you say, you read it more than once, so it must have resonated to some degree. I mean, it did with me as well. Who is Jesus? Jesus was a man just like we are, souls that are incarnated into the world. He was incarnated with his parents, Mary and Joseph, and it talks about his beloved Mary Magdalene. That book speaks of how he had an awakening, and that really gets into his life and his teachings as a result of that. He wanted to learn, and he traveled on fishing boats. He went to India and Africa, and traveled all over the world, and spoke to shamans, and spoke to sages, and spoke to people who lended themselves to his way of thinking. And he learned, and he came back, and he claimed that his cousin John, according to this book, of course, John the Baptist, had him baptized. And after he was baptized, that something awakened in him. And that's when he went into the jungle, or not the jungle, I'm sorry, into the forest for what was it, 30 days? I don't really know the specifics, I don't remember, but to really come to terms with the awakening that he was having. And that's when he came out and began teaching as he did. And even his crucifixion was interesting, according to what she channeled, was that he was able, that Mary, in fact, he came back from his trips abroad, wherever he was traveling to, and Mary was involved with him with this awakening that he had. And in fact, Mary put him into trance. And he said that in this book, she says that what Jesus channeled her was that he went into trance, and he trusted God, that God would keep him in trance until the death of his body, which he didn't believe was permanent anyway. You know, he certainly didn't believe in death. And so, and then the last thing that I remember, and this is all my recollection from the book, was that when he said, God, why hath thou forsaken me? The reason he said that was that he felt himself coming out of trance, and that he didn't want to come out of the trance before he was dead. And he did come out of the trance, but he suffered for 1 second until he died. So that's what he, according to the aspect of, or the teaching of what Tina Spalding is getting at, is that from what she has channeled, was that this came about in that way, which I thought was very interesting. It could be truth, it could be fiction, but it was a very interesting reading, and I liked that rendition of how she described Jesus. So needless to say, she's a fascinating person. And this is something that we were both pulled into as well the other day when we were listening to her talk on YouTube.
Yeah, you recommended the book to me. I had never heard of the book before, and I remember when I listened to it on Audible the first time, I just had so many aha moments. Light bulb after light bulb after light bulb. I have the book right here because my husband likes to read. I like to listen. And what the first paragraph says on the back of the book is, the purpose of this book is to clarify, to tell the truth, and to share my energies with you so that you can begin the transformation of your mind, and therefore the transformation of your heart and your world. It is in the misteachings that have been associated with my name, meaning the name of Jesus, that much death and pain has been caused, and that much guilt and self-recrimination has been expressed. That was not my purpose. That was not my lesson. That's a very well-written paragraph, because that definitely has been my association with Jesus, because growing up in a Lutheran church, I loved Jesus very much, but there were things that I was told about him that just did not make sense. So what she's even clarifying with that first paragraph, this is what's written on the back of her book, Jesus, My Autobiography, is really a big reason that A Course in Miracles was written in the first place, I believe, because in 1972, I think, was when A Course in Miracles was published, which was pretty shortly after I was born. But the Course in Miracles was literally written to clarify what Jesus Christ was on this world to teach, what Jesus Christ was here to teach. Because religion, I think what happened with religion is that they took a lot of man's fear and projected it onto a false God. They saw God as being judgmental because man is judgmental. They saw God as being condemning because man is condemning. So they made up rules that had nothing to do with the true message of Jesus Christ. And that is just what I think is so beautiful and so empowering about A Course in Miracles. I mean, traditional religion, traditional Christianity is a dualistic path. It's a path of contrast, God and the devil, heaven and hell, good and bad, where Course in Miracles is a non-dualistic path. Only the love is real. I mean, we live in this earthly classroom and we learn through contrast because there are dark forces in the world. However, only the love is real. So when we are coming from a place of compassion and love, we're coming from the truth of who we are. And that's the only thing that will ever bring us peace, love, joy, and happiness. So when we're connecting with the innocence within ourselves, when we're connecting with the strength within ourselves, we can be a conduit for God's divine love. When we're connecting with the innocence in our brother and we're focusing on the beauty in our brother, then we can also become a conduit for God's divine love. So, we always have a choice. But again, A Course in Miracles, in my mind, I mean, it's definitely my path to heaven. It's not the only path, but it's my path. It's a much more clear path than, for me, than the traditional church of my childhood. Because I know when I'm connected to this higher energy, it's just a really empowering energy to align my mind with. And I do believe, I mean, in terms of Jesus Christ, we all have the potential to be like him. I mean, he's our role model. The difference, Jesus said, he says, there is nothing in me that you do not have. The only difference between me and you right now is that I do not have anything else. So we all have that same divinity within us that Jesus has in him. But Jesus doesn't have anything else. He has no ego. I still have my ego. And again, A Course in Miracles is teaching us to identify our egoic blocks. So when they arise, we can choose to release them. And for me, it's a daily discipline because I continue to vacillate. But it's worth the effort because when I can connect to that place, that place within my mind that's clear, it's just such an empowering place to connect to and to reside in, right, Myrna?
Yeah, we talk about Jesus and your upbringing with Jesus, and you were brought up in a church, and you were taught about Jesus in the way the church understood it and tried to teach it to you. You didn't buy into it. You didn't like the teachings that you were, that you were. Really, a lot of people feel that the teachings of Jesus of suffering and all and what were led to believe, or you were led to believe growing up, was a Jesus that you sort of, you didn't stay with, and the Jesus that you are now connected to is a different Jesus, is a different teaching. It's about love, and that's all there is. There was no punishment, there was no fear. It's only about love. And looking at my upbringing was very different from yours. My upbringing was a Jewish upbringing. So Jesus was a name that we couldn't even say it. I mean, it was so far removed from what we were led to believe. We believed nothing about Jesus because we weren't taught anything about Jesus. Jesus didn't exist. He was a religious icon as far as I was brought up to see and believe. So it's really interesting how years later, you and I, connected to Jesus, being completely different religions, different teachings, different upbringing, are now on that same path with Jesus. So that tells me that Jesus is there for everyone. Jesus is just, it doesn't matter. He doesn't care whether you're Jewish, whether you're Christian, whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're good, whether you're bad, whether you're a criminal, whether you're a saint. To him, as long as you go to him with an open heart and the desire for forgiveness, that's all you really need, really. That's all that's necessary, coming with open hands. And so the beauty of having Jesus in the forefront in our teaching, and I became acquainted with Jesus through the Course in Miracles. I think you did too, really, the same way. That it's all about, about love, and he's there to guide us through that love, through that path. And when we feel that love, when we feel that energetic love, that frequency that is available to all of us, it does create a different atmosphere, and the things that we are involved in, the passions that we have, are more open to evolving once we get rid of the fear, once we get rid of the judgment, and once we stay in that love ideal, that frequency that we're really made for. We're made out of that loving God frequency. That's where we came from. So if that's all that we are, then why should we be feeling anything else? Why should we be buying into fear? But, I believe that if we keep buying into it by listening to the news and letting it affect us, that's just one example. There are many examples, but that's just one. If we keep buying into it, then it's because we're attracted to it still. There's something that still, holds an attraction. Why do I turn on the news every day now? Why have I been doing that? And feeling bad about what I'm hearing, or feeling betrayed because I'm hearing lies, from what I don't believe is the candidate of my choice, or whatever it is. We're all feeling that way. But the attraction really, to me, is just that I want to be at peace. And I think hearing this and experiencing that it's so easy to become devoid of the peace by falling into that fear mode, then we're losing it. And I don't want to lose that. I really don't. So that, I'm really seeing clearly that we are in a very wonderful place. Wonderful. And it doesn't have to be any different.
That was very wise. Why do we get sucked into the dynamics of the election? Why do we get sucked into the dynamics of the news? Because on some level, we're still attracted to that fear. And it is very true. On some level, we're still attracted to the negative. So it's very important to, I guess, to focus on the love, to focus on God, to focus on innocence, to focus on images that are empowering. It's important each day to make time to do things that bring us joy. And the more we do whatever it is in life that brings us joy, the higher our energetic frequency will raise itself. Again, in this 20-minute video that we're focusing upon today, Tina Spalding spoke about how she was guided to create pots, or to go ahead.
She bought a kiln, and she's saying, well, what do I have to make? A kiln, for pots that create, what do you call it? She's out of clay. You make
Right.
Yes.
And so she was instructed by her spirit guides to create these pots. And then she thought it was kind of silly because she was creating all these pots and she wasn't making money for them. And then the spirit guides said, you know, whatever you do that brings you joy, the money is not important. The important thing is that you're enjoying the process. And I thought that was very wise because, again, it's never really about the result. It's about us enjoying the journey, and us learning the lessons that we're here on this earth to learn. Because no matter what we create, you know, getting what we want is like instantaneous, you know. So I work hard, you know, and then I get a result. Well, that result is fleeting. You know, I think the most important thing in life is the journey. It's very important to just enjoy the journey. Yeah, and then be grateful for it all. Be grateful for the lessons, be grateful for the blessings. There was another book that was recommended to me, and it has to do about being grateful for the obstacles in life, because the obstacles in life are teaching us exactly what our soul needs to learn. I mean, I've said numerous times, you know, here in Pal Talk YouTube, we basically learn what we need to learn and grow, not despite our challenges, but because of our challenges. If it wasn't for the obstacles, if it wasn't for the challenges, we wouldn't grow to be as great as we were born to be. And that was something that I have been listening to today on a podcast, that that the challenges that we experience in life are necessary for our soul's growth. So to be in flow is really beautiful, but many times when we're on a certain path, challenges confront us, you know, but it's important to just really accept our life completely exactly as it is, because the blessings are fun, but the lessons and the challenges and the obstacles are building character. They're building strength. They're teaching us what we need to know. So I thought that was an interesting book that was recommended to me, about how the obstacles that we encounter are essential for our growth. The name of this book, it's called The Obstacle is the Way. And so this is another book that I started reading, The Timeless Art of Turning Trials into Triumph by Ryan Holiday. I started listening to that book today because because there are a lot of challenges in my life. I mean, there's a lot of blessings, but there's a lot of challenges as well. So the blessings are beautiful, but the challenges are teaching me what I need to learn, and I know that. So life is a journey.
There really don't have to be challenges, do there? Really, the challenges, what I believe there are challenges that we're facing is we're creating those challenges. So if you don't let the challenges throw you, if you're not thrown by them, if you recognize them for what they are and not get into the fear of what the challenge might be, then through my own experience, it passes. It just does. It just passes away because it's not real anyway. And the only place to be is in the place of the Christ consciousness. And that's where you're not going to experience challenges in that consciousness. So it's a matter of believing that challenge, as you put it, that may be arising, it's if you can laugh at it. Again, the Course in Miracles tells us we don't laugh enough. We take things too seriously, and that's how the ego came about. That's how the ego was created, because somewhere along the way, the Son of God remembered not to laugh. Okay, so laughing is something that we need to do. Laugh at it simply because it's not true. And that's something to keep constantly focused on. So yeah, I like to think that I can't think of any challenges that I have in my life. None at all. And when I talk about the news, perhaps I'm making it sound as if I'm much more involved in the fear aspect of it than I really am. I see that it's there, and I do fall into it, but then I catch myself and I say, wait a minute, whoever becomes the president, who's ever elected, it's going to be fine. Whoever it is, the world is going to go on expanding. The world is going to go on, becoming, the frequency is not going to die. It's only, just stay with it no matter what happens. And that's a big challenge. The outcome of the election is a big challenge for all of us, because half the country is focused on one, and the other half is focused on the other. And the idea is that challenge, it shouldn't really be a challenge. We need to realize that to stay in the love frequency, and that's all there will ever be anyway. So as long as we know that, what is there to fear? Nothing. And so I do believe that. I do. I know that I believe that with every fiber of my being, that I will always find that energy that I need to be a part of, the love energy. That's where my friends are. Who are my friends? Jesus, for one, God, Holy Spirit, you, Lynn, the whole group that we are a part of right now, that advocates the Course in Miracles. So.
Just as you said, I love that quote from A Course in Miracles. The separation occurred when the Son of God forgot to laugh, because laughter is a very high, elevated vibrational frequency. And when we are laughing, we are very connected to God's divine love. I remember that story about Bill Thetford on his way out. He was like dancing, he was laughing, he spent his whole life, or I guess the latter part of his life, since he channeled A Course in Miracles with Helen Schuckman, he spent the latter part of his life, devoted to A Course in Miracles. So by the time it was time for him to leave this world, he was dancing and laughing, and then he dropped dead. So he left in a very high vibrational state, dancing and laughing. And I think that's just so beautiful. And I think when we're connected to our joy, we are connected to God. God can get through. And you made me think of a question I wanted to answer, because I know you had your birthday last week. And every birthday you ask Jesus for a gift, which is like so super cool. Can I ask you what he gave you this year, Myrna?
Yes. I did get a gift. The gift was when I was listening to Tina Spalding, and she said that, and I just needed to hear that get into your project, feel in other words, if there's something that you love that you're doing, get into that. Forget about everything else. Forget about what's going on in the world. And I needed to hear that, because this is what I love that I'm doing right now is my book. I mean, this is something that I loved writing. I love the outcome. I love that it's coming out soon. It'll be out this week again for the third time. And this project was such an important one for me, because I sent it back several times because I didn't like the way it was formatted. I wanted it to be better punctuated. I really felt that it could be done the job could have been better. And the publisher was accommodating me. And because I wasn't happy. In fact, I just heard that I'm getting 20 copies from the publisher. He's sending me 20 free copies of this book. So now I'm free to hand them out to my friends and people that, that that are asking me about it. But that was the gift that I felt that I received, because when I heard this, I made the connection right away that I was being told, stay with the book. That's what you love. That's what you're doing. Stay, and all those feelings that I was feeling while writing the book was really coming from a place of love. And that book is a labor of love. And so that was, I believe, the gift that I got this year. That I came to that recognition that project is something that I love, because it's, to me, it's Course in Miracles, but from a different, from a romantic novel point of view, coming from a different place, but yet it's all Course in Miracles, because all there is in it is love. That's what it's about. It's about love. And in fact, the name of the book is Love's Chosen Destiny. So this is a very important project to me, and it came alive that much more when I heard Tina Spalding speak about that. So there you go.
What a beautiful gift. That's a
It
beautiful
was,
gift.
I thought it was.
I know when I have aha moments throughout the day, that is just the best gift that
Yes.
anyone can give me. I had quite a few aha moments in that video that you recommended that we were talking about surviving election madness. And yeah, I mean, because God is always talking to us, and it's when we can just still our mind and listen to what he has to say. It's so beautiful. Sometimes he shares his wisdom with us through other people. Sometimes he shares his wisdom with us through books, through videos, and sometimes it's just about stilling our mind so we can hear his guidance, internally. I think that way of connecting to God is extremely powerful. Sometimes he shares his wisdom with us through nature, on my runs. I can see his beauty many times through the animals and the nature and the trees. So it's very important to just focus on the love. And yeah, and I love you. And this time in Pal Talk YouTube always elevates my energy as well. So it's all coming together. It's all good, as our good friend Sherry always says. And yeah, any last thoughts, Myrna? It's almost the top of the hour.
When I talk about a gift, it always comes in the form of a knowing or a knowing. So, I mean, and that, to me, that's a miracle. When you get an aha, like you put it, an aha moment is a miracle. And it always comes in the form of something like that. So, that's all I wanted to add about that. But you put it very well. It's wonderful to have those times where we, oh my God, I get it now. I get it.
I know when we can feel God's presence. You always say, Myrna, you say intellectual understanding is the booby prize. I got that from you. I mean, because intellectual understanding is just not enough. For me, it's a start. But to feel connected to that high vibrational frequency, I mean, that's just so great. And many times throughout the day, right now, I can feel myself connected to God's divine love, and I can feel his essence, and I can feel my energetic frequency just lift up. And that's just such a beautiful way to live. So thank you for your time with me here.
Thank you.
And I love you. And this was fabulous. And as the introduction of A Course in Miracles says, nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And what that means is the only thing that's real is the love. If it was negative, it's an illusion. Thank God for that. And I love you.
Love you too.
Thank you. So I'll now return the microphone to Lynn.
Thank you so much, Myrna and Susan. Susan, what a beautiful hour this has been. And I do appreciate you